back in action. I am so pumped up today. Yes, I'm Tim Ray, your host of the Good Intentions Show. Hello, WDJY listeners out there, as well as Facebook, YouTube, Spreaker, the whole gang. Glad to see you here again. We had a great show an hour ago, didn't we?
Oh, it was amazing.
Right,
Yes.
yeah. You guys go check back and look at it. It was just phenomenal. Conscious producers, TV producers, and how we're just getting to the point where the propaganda that we're just inundated every day with, claiming back our power through the power of intention, then creating and manifesting what we truly want, and doing it on a large scale, like Kiso's talking about, with reaching millions of people through movies.
I love it.
I mean, raising the bar through movies. I mean, that old Luciferian control of the movie control there of Hollywood, whatever, is starting to break through. The light's starting to come through, huh?
Right, and they're not going to say that. They're not going to let anybody know, but
it
is, and you have to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, you got to keep leveling up, and do it in love, learn through love, right? All right, what a show we have today, guys. We're going to be learning all about instantaneously healing ourselves, and I think this is a big piece of part of life that a lot of people don't realize we have the ability to do that. And because of that, I think what we're learning through, I say scalar energy, other people say just the spiritual God energy, how that can happen, and a lot of people don't believe it. And if you don't believe it, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it has to do again with your power of your intent, and also connecting to that ultimate source. And so we're going to learn about that. We have a very special guest today. He is all over the world, honestly, Sajady, and he is just changing the game. And you're going to have to hear, you're going to hear some miraculous healings, and we're going to put him to the test today. So we're going to see really what's going on with that. You ever see those Filipino things where they kind of put their hands on there and they pull stuff out or whatever?
Oh yeah.
That type of healing. Not that he does that, right. But point being is that you always want to question everything, right?
That's right. You have to.
But, it's crazy days these days. Really are. I mean, we're just not sure exactly what is going on, but it's what we think is straight up is upside down. What is, like I say, a lie is a truth. And so we got to kind of use our own intuitive process and connection to source to figure out what we consider true. And really, bottom line is it's our truth, right?
That's right. Collectively, it is. And since that it's not on TV, they're not watching this on TV. Wait until it's on. What if this ever gets on like mainstream TV, the United Intention Network? And everything they see will be like, this is fact.
Hey, listen,
it's on TV.
I know exactly. And listen, I say it all the time. We're all programmed. From birth, we're programmed. The question is, do you want to get programmed with healthy intentions or get programmed with not healthy intentions, right? So parents, everybody's programming us to some degree. Every time we watch a media, every time we listen to somebody. So why not have uplifting, empowering programming versus, the typical 70,000 thoughts a day. It's negative, repetitive, and, I'm fear-based. I'm worth nothing. I'm nothingness. I am the lowest of all lows, right? And there's this belief system just pounded in us from day one in this earth. It's like, how do we survive? I mean, in so many ways, this not enoughness is so ingrained. Yeah. And once I think you understand the power of source and power of our intent and how we claim it, we take our power back, this awakening, the second coming, or whatever you want to call it, is that awakening within ourselves. Lesser of me will do much more, right? And I think we have somebody who's actually embracing the we had Ed Stracher on there a little while ago, and he said, people, I would say like Moss, who are actually healing people. He goes, when's the last time you went to your priest or your minister, and do they heal people? What do you mean, you're not healing people? Why? I mean, even Jesus said the lesser of people will do much more than I ever done. So I think we just missed the boat. We've been kind of we're thrown off path through man's perversion of religion, and so we have basically given our power up to others. And guess what? Those days are coming to an end because we're claiming our power back. And yes, we can do the healing, and I'm sure Moss will tell us today that he can, not only he but all of us can do this type of healing level. And we'll see what he actually says. But first, a couple of things, and before I do a formal introduction of Moss. Here is, tonight, Dr. Darrell Wolf. I did a show with him a handful of months ago, a TV show with him, and he's out of Canada. I mean, he is a top doc, man. He is on it. I mean, talk about believing in intent and changing lives. He'll be broadcasting his show live, I say live, but, hot, at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and would be, I think, 4 p.m. Pacific time. And also you can go to docstartv.com, go to docstar, D-O-C, startv.com, and go watch it. Watch it live. It was a great interview. Honestly, it was out of this park. So it's something that you're not going to want to miss. We also have Marissa Pay Thursday at 11 a.m. She is a great person, and looking forward to talking about manifesting and good intentions with her. She's all about that. So it's going to be a really interesting interview. Last thing is, Jesse always sends me something going on out there. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg will testify before the House Energy Commerce Committee next week about privacy issues and consumer data. You think the NSA is going to pop up in the question there? Hey, how about we just stop getting rid of the all-seeing eye from our computers and cell phones? Huh? We start with that first.
Start with that. Exactly.
I mean, it's just all propaganda. Anything, I can't even watch it because I just know they're not going to come out with anything of substance. It's just going to be another psyop on top of a psyop, and you know. Anyway, thanks, Jesse, for getting me all upset before I brought in our guest, man. I really appreciate that. So let me tell you about our guest today. After his second near-death experience, NDE, you know, and we're going to talk about life review a little bit too, because we got Daniel's on our board, and you know we have multiple people on near-death experience. But it is, to me, I think when you have those opportunities like that, it changes your whole game plan. I mean, you've seen something that you probably normally wouldn't see in our three-dimensional world, five-sensory world, and you're like, okay, apparently there's something more going on out there than I've been told about, you know, outside of just hearing about Kim Kardashian and whatever else.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
So,
Hollyweird.
Yeah. Well, it's coming around. It's the Matrix is breaking down. So Sajady is also gifted with intuitive healing and abilities to remarkably potent that he has soon likened to some of the most significant healers in history. He has millions of people following him. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I know we have him today for an hour. I'm just so excited about it. Through his Medihealing, which is registered, Moss has works on the core frequency level to help redesign and reprogram your blueprint in areas of life. You know, this is all this DNA work. Everyone's coming out, epigenetics now, and what I love now too, especially not only Bruce Lipton, but the signal transduction. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Thousands around the world have transformed their lives after just one or a few sessions with Moss.
Wow.
Can you believe that? Well, without further ado, let's bring in the man with the plan. Moss, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Listen, I really appreciate being on the call, and I love having healers like you who have been transforming people's lives, and it's amazing. Are you on Fox News, MSNBC, CNN every night?
No.
Okay, yeah. You and millions of other healers are not, and it's to me like what you're claiming you do. And not, and I'm going to make some assumptions here because just people I know in your realm of awakening, you know, it's everyone can do this. It's just if they focus it. So what you're claiming you're doing, healing people instantaneously of whatever ailments may be. I mean, that's just that. Wouldn't you think that would be like
breaking news?
Breaking news, you know. Man in Minnesota heals people instantaneously. You know, I mean, you know, come on. I mean, you have to hear it on my little show here. You know, come on. I should be Fox News, and you know, but that's just a whole nother story and a whole nother place. So, tell me a little bit about your journey, Moss, and you know, and you can go back as far as you want, but your journey of self healing and your awakening in that process.
Well, you know, throughout my whole life, I've always been searching. Even as a little kid, it's like, hey, you know, what's really out there? What's that one equation that's going to solve, that equation of life? Just like Albert Einstein wanted that one equation that equaled life, right? So through that process, when I was a little kid, you know, I went through the religious paradigm. I studied all the religions and spirituality movements, and you know, that left a lot of questions unanswered. And there was a lot of people who were religious that weren't healing themselves. They weren't happy. You know, they had a lot of family issues or any other issues. So I go, well, that doesn't seem right. Because if you're in that religious mode, you should heal yourself of that and be abundant, the way I call 360 degrees of abundance. So I went through, well, you know, if I had money, right, or a good education, and then I'll be wealthy, and then I'll be happy. But you know, nowadays I work with you know, millionaires, billionaires, and they're just as they're not as happy as anybody else. They've got a lot of money, right? But that internal self-being is not there. They still have the same issues, maybe even worse sometimes. And the point here I'm trying to make that it's not about the money, although, and we can talk about money later on, because just tapping into your audience, Tim, I kind of see that there might be some money issues with them stemming from, say, religion and sin and all that stuff. So we can talk about that if you'd like. So the money route wasn't really there, right? So my first near death really opened me up to understanding that there's a greater part of us. I call it the 99%, or some people might call it your spirit. I would define it as a source code. So that source code. By the way, I'm a computer programmer, so I use computer language. All right,
Matrix.
Yeah, literally, I take people into the matrix. So this source code, I can tap into you and then edit your programming at your source code, and then you start, say, reacting differently to your environment, or you start healing yourself. Miraculous healing, by the way. People who they've started walking after, say, coming into an event. People who can't heal themselves of cancers. People who start creating like hundreds of $1,000s a month. And by the way, I just want to note, I'm not the one who does that to them, for them. I awaken their own abundance abilities. I want to say their own healing abilities, but I want to say abundance, because every aspect of your life transcends higher and higher. So,
now, Moss, stop there for 1 second, because what you mentioned, a few things I think we need to spend a little time on, because it's really, for the first time hearing this, it sounds to many people out there, wow, this guy can't be for real, right? But I hear it over and over again from so many other sources, not only about you, but also about so many other people who are tapped into, like you said, this source, especially when you have an NDE, a near-death experience, because you see a whole nother. And listen, I have Raymond Moody coming on a little while, I think next month, and I've been spending weekends with him, doing a workshop with him on things, and he's like, the father of near-death experiences, right? And it is much like science fiction is much more. It has nothing on reality right now. Reality is much more science fiction than science fiction could ever be, right? And what a great time now to be experiencing this in life. Of healing and self-healing. And what you just said is that you could heal, or the process that you go through, the energy environment that people, when they're in this field that you said, you're able to assist people in healing themselves through through kind of the, I don't say manipulation, but through the identification of their program within them, DNA, let's say, and you could actually help them heal themselves through this scalar energy, this chi energy, this energetic pool that we swim in, right?
Sure.
So you've done that, and you've healed people from walking to cancer to so many different things, right?
Right, exactly. Tens of thousands. Just having a general sense of self. Because again, I work with a lot of people who are, say, wealthy and non-wealthy individuals, and the deal is that no matter wealth or physical abundance that we all search for, like a relationship, money, or education, whatever, that's not going to satisfy you. It's that internal being. It's that connection between your source code or your spirit into, say, your physical being. So in that first near death, what I realized that most of us, almost all of us, identify who we are of that 1%, and that 1% is basically accumulation of who we are physically, right? From birth. Sadly to say, it actually goes back into your family lineage. So from birth to the time of death for me, that's who I thought I was. I split away from that identity and found the actual source that who I was. I call that the 99% of who we are. So now I help people operate rather from the 1% trying to reach the 99%. I turn people around so they operate from the 99% and have, say, a physical 1% experience.
So before we get into the house, because I know everyone wants to know, we'll get into that, and of course the money as well. But how do you, Moss, stay in the 99% of that time in this three-dimensional world with, you have to pay your bills? I mean, you have to eat
Of course.
food, right? You got to drink water. Maybe you don't
Sure.
have to. Well, he's like, no. He's a What do they call them? Breatharians? What?
Brother.
Yeah. But I mean, but no. But I mean, there's certain you have to drive a car unless you're
Of course.
dimensionally teleporting these days. Which, hey, I don't put it past anybody, you know. But I mean, but how do you stay in that 99% on a daily basis, healing people or assisting in them healing themselves, where where most of us are in the 1% in reality here?
That's a great question, Tim. And most individuals think that, okay, I'm gonna try to say take care of the bills, take care of the mortgage, take care of whatever, and then I'll get spiritual or I'll connect to that higher self. It doesn't work that way, guys. I mean, you've tried it. People have tried 10, 20, 30 years to do that. Again, in a very short time, I flip you around and you operate from the 99%. At that 99%, you are abundant, way beyond, say, any definition of abundance here. Right? So think of it this way, Tim. If you're operating from that 99%, you're naturally abundant, right? What is your life going to be like? The
Right.
bills get paid way beyond, your expectations. Your health naturally comes back. You actually get to enjoy, say, your kids because you're not stressed out about doing all the other things, right? You can actually have a cohesive family. All those things work out if we take the time, and it doesn't take that much time with exponential intelligence. That's the way I've coined the frequencies that I work with.
Let's go to exponential intelligence, because
Mhm.
this is the formula that you said, the code piece there. But
Right.
before you get into exponential intelligence, doesn't the other person have to be open-minded to believe that they can intentionally heal themselves, or do they not?
No, most of my amazing or magical transformations, Tim, actually come from people, loved ones who I've worked on, say they've been too ill to do anything with me, or they're addicted to something. So I work on them through their loved ones. And yes, at a spirit level, they have to be open. They don't really have to even be open at a spirit level. It just takes a little longer if you're not open.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
And it's harder because your spirit always wants to awaken, no matter who you are, no matter how dark you are. It just
Right.
takes a little longer.
Right.
So at a spirit level, yes, you have to be, say, available.
All right.
And the more available you are, or the more in tune you are, the faster the transformation
Well,
happens for you, almost instantaneous for some people.
well, that
And
is
that's
that is great hope,
yeah.
Moss,
Mhm.
because now
Oh,
people, you
definitely.
don't even have to be conscious of believing
No.
in the healing, because it is more of a spiritual experience. So, what is exponential you said integrity or
Intelligence.
intelligence? Sorry,
Intelligence.
yeah,
So that's the name of my podcast, by the way. So
yes,
exponential intelligence is what I've coined, is a knowledge. It's a timeless knowledge that's always been around this. It's been here since the beginning of time. It'll be here till the end of time. So it's an operating manual on how we actually are. So the logistics, right? Every if you buy, say, your phone, it has an operating manual. So EI is an actually operating manual on life, or how to exist here in physical form.
hmm.
Uh,
Wow.
and it's timeless. It never gets distorted, and it works, all the time. If you do exactly those steps, it works all the time. And it's not about being bad. It's not about sinning or anything like that. It's just a state of being.
Well, you just made a lot of Catholics happy. So, you don't have to be guilty anymore. Yeah, but yeah, but no. So is this kind of related to scalar energy?
Scalar energy is I'm seeing it. Scalar energy, just to get it right,
Yeah.
is like electromagnetic waves.
Yeah, yeah.
From what
Well,
I'm seeing, that shift. So the level that I'm at would
yeah,
actually be, say, sub-quantum frequencies. So a little, so beyond, because again, electromagnetic waves is a time and space. If we
yeah.
didn't have, say, time and space, that fourth quadrant, scalar energies wouldn't exist, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I
so
think
you
the
go beyond.
yeah, I think the electromagnetic wave is from A to B, where scalar energy is more just A, because it's everywhere. Like thoughts, they believe to maybe scalar, but it may just be a verbal definition that maybe it's
Right.
very similar. So this exponential intelligence,
Mhm.
basically, it's tapping into your higher self.
It sounds simple. Yes, it's tapping into your higher self, but that's kind of, it reminded me of people going, well, you have to be mindful. But when people are mindful, they're just seeing their life through the filters that they already have, right? So it's predisposed on being mindful. So it goes beyond. It's being aware of your physical form. So any action that you take, be aware of your physical form. You'd be amazed how, one, mindful that you become. You'd be amazed at how all those things that you thought were you drop away from you.
So
Did that make sense?
yeah, I think so. So you're saying being in the present moment, where like right now I could feel my fingertips,
Right.
that type of
You
feeling.
being in, exactly, you being in physical form, because that 99% just craves being in our body, in physical form. And most of us, we're out of our body. We're always somewhere else. We're always too busy, right? We never pay attention. Look at your face. People who, people, they shave, they put makeup on. How many times have you actually looked at your face when you're doing that? Right? Pay attention to your face,
I
and you'd
try
be
not to.
amazed.
I try not to, but yeah, but I
Exactly.
get your point. So here we have all these like people having these out of body experiences. They're expanding their consciousness outside of their body. But you're saying is maybe we should just focus on staying within our body since we're here and have a different reality experience.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why even, people who are, Buddhists or, higher level individuals who say ascended, they can only reach a certain level, and that is that mechanical level or the physical level. You can actually go beyond that. Doing it the other way. Why were you, and these are some questions for you.
Yeah.
Why were you created in such physical form with such intricate details? I mean, just look at your fingertips, look at your eyes, look at, your senses. My God, you know, at the level that we're at, we can't even say duplicate, our sensory perception of our eyes or hearing or anything of that in technology, right? In physical form,
Yeah.
in inventions. So why were we created with such abilities? And then in most religions, what do they do? It's like, oh, this is test. Forget about this lifetime. Worry about no. You understand this lifetime completely, the abundance that you're looking for. Right? Health, wealth, relationships, money, all just start pouring in.
It is amazing to me because we're kind of conditioned. Like when you first get into this, you're aware that we're
Mhm.
much more than just our physical body. There's a spiritual variable to us. That a lot of people are like, oh, I got to get out of this earth. I want to ascend to a something higher level.
Exactly.
What if the purpose here is to create an environment, a body that we could descend into, so our spirituality can live that 99% of the time in that physical body? What if that's the goal?
That's the purpose of EI. Basically, is like your that 99% comes into your physical form so strongly,
Right.
that you say pull the awesomeness that you are, the grandness that you are, the abundance that you are at that higher level. Right? There's no shortcomings at that at our higher level. You pull it into physical form. That's our main objective. Once you pull that into physical form in religious terms, it'd be heaven on earth
Yeah.
without the physical form, really.
I
That's
mean,
what we're trying
I
to
mean
do.
that's the goal. I would assume. I hope it is.
Yeah,
So I assume dictions are constantly keeping us out that 99% out of the body.
yes, definitely. Most people, again, they're always trying to reach outside of themselves, right? I have to say pray to God, right, to understand God. I have to, go outside and reach out for money or reach out for a relationship to feel complete. Everything that you need is inside you. The process that I use basically helps you understand that everything that you need is inside you much faster.
Well,
That's really so.
no,
Mhm.
outside of going into the too much detail of the process, I would like to maybe share some of the basics. But if people really want
Sure.
to get to know more and sign up with you and check your stuff out,
Mhm.
they could go to Mas Sajady at .com, or
Mhm.
also just go listen to your podcast at Exponential
Yes.
Intelligence. I mean, check
Right.
that out. So tell us what you can share with us this process, because it almost seems unbelievable, honestly, Mas. That because and
Of course.
I've been hearing from so many different people talking about the answers are so simple, but yet we always look outside of ourselves for our answers, and we're never gonna.
Yes.
It's insatiable. We're never gonna find them. So you're
True.
saying to go within, and
Right.
you do have a process that apparently shows results. So what is it?
Right. So the 21-day meta healings, that's one of the biggest. It's where you meditate with me for 21 days, twice a day. Okay. And what that process is, it goes beyond meditation, it goes beyond hypnosis, NLP, anything that we do physically. And what I do is pull you into a present state so strongly. So again, I don't help you exit your body like most things do. I pull you into who you are. Into your body so strongly that you start to see all the shadows that are in you, all those filters that you've created of yourself, and then family lineage stuff as well. I help you remove those shadows, and then you become your grand self that you are. It's really that simple.
Okay, so when you say moving shadow, because I get a lot of people I talk to from Dr. Karen Can, a whole bunches, they call it, and even we had an exorcist on a little while ago, they call it detachment work, where, you're detaching negative entities from you that, whether they're here from a past life or here from this life, or,
Sure.
more demonic or more entities outside of the world. Is this
Right.
process, your process you do, is that type of detachment work?
It is, but it goes, I call it programs. Yes, well, there's different levels. One, there are actual programs. Most of people's lives, I would say over 90% of what we have issues with are actually family lineage type issues. So just programs, right? So patterns of abuse. If you look at patterns of abuse, most likely in your family, there's been patterns of abuse before you. It's not you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you remove that filter. I can help you remove that filter at a core level, as I call it, from you. There are, say, actual attachments like entities and other beings or other presences or aliens, whatever you want to call it, that are there that do take over people. Think of it this way: if you're not in control of your body, something or someone else will be. It's just simple as that. And it's not about being good or bad. And that's what we get distorted. And
Yeah.
the point I want to make that um, it's an environment out there. Everything exists at the same time in this reality. So all the possibilities that you are exist right here, right now for you.
Mm.
But the reason why you can't see it is because the filters that you've created for
Because
yourself.
we're living a 1% life. So
Exactly.
so people with ADD, I would assume it would maybe have a little more challenging to stay focused with you on these daily meditations.
No, not necessarily. People who have a hard time meditating, or people who even say meditated. I even have people come. They actually meditated with me. They run a yogi center in India. Highly advanced individuals. They connect with me because I can take them even further. Beyond, and so it is a different process than most meditations that are out there. Because it's a frequency that I generate. That's the closest thing I can give you an example of is just pure raw nature. If you've ever been out, say, out in the jungle, like I was in the Amazon for a bit, that presence, there's no sense of time. It pulls you into such a presence that you start to identify all the weaknesses that you have
Mm,
inside you.
mm.
And then, so that's the frequencies that I generate. So no, you don't have to say people with ADD or anything like that. It doesn't really
Well,
matter.
so do you see these detachments or these entities or whatever it may be as just
Of course.
like Neo did as a program, like just whether it's in a historical DNA program that is of
Sure.
abuse, whatever. You see it kind of like when you're at the point when Neo stopped the bullets while he'd, and he's all of a sudden everything went green and there's codes everywhere. I mean,
Mhm.
is that where you're kind of? I'm not saying it's literally like that, but where
Right.
when you look at somebody now, and you said you tapped into our audience, so to
Mhm.
me that's kind of scalar in a way, but
Right.
do you see not the physical form anymore, or do you have to put yourself into a relaxed meditative state to see the more the spiritual nature, which I would assume is more flowing and less bounded by physical?
True. No, I do see programming. So say when I tap into you or if you talk about somebody, I can tap into anybody dead
The
or alive.
voice,
I
okay.
can actually see their programming. So if you think of it this way, the people who've had a near-death experience, they say they review their life, right?
Yeah, yeah,
At some level, that somewhere that's recorded somewhere in the cloud, let's
yeah,
just say.
yeah.
I can tap into that and go, oh, this is what happened to you. I can say, I can scan your body and go, oh, you've got cancer or you've got whatever. And again, I'm not diagnosing you. I'm just seeing what it is. If you have, say, hip problems and so on like that,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
like you might have, your lower back seems to have issues.
Yes.
From what I'm sensing.
Get that detachment off of me. I'm sure it's my mother. Ma, go home. No.
It could be your mom, your father as well. Your father has a, say, sensitive frequency to him,
Ah,
from what I'm sensing.
all right.
So, which kind of distorts you as well.
Wow.
So,
Well, that would
so I
that
can
would
reach.
explain a lot.
Yeah. So, so those kind of things, and much more.
Yeah, of
Obviously,
course.
I can help you say remove those programs or
Right.
change them for you, and then your real self starts coming through.
Okay,
Yeah,
now,
and I'll work on your lower back as we speak. By the way. Oh,
wow,
as a
that's
note, uh,
multitasker right there for you.
yeah. People in the audience,
Yeah.
I'll be working on you as well. So I bet a lot of your audience members will feel different as they listen to this interview.
Okay, that's phenomenal, and I want to go there too because that to me
Yeah.
is that's where the understanding of our true nature of reality comes in place,
Yes.
and
Yes.
not this limited bandwidth of our five senses, what we think is
Yes.
reality, and it's just the farthest from it's the
Exactly.
1% of reality, right?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
so this programming that you do, or deprogramming, or whatever the case may be, is it apparently has to be some level of an epigenetic response because it's physically changing not only the energetic flow of our bioelectrical cells, which our Western medicine doesn't even address, but also
Right.
you're talking about there's a chemical response too that the cells have to change as well if you got
Right.
diabetes or whatever it may be. So,
Right.
so you're saying this exponential intelligence has the capability of bioelectrically changing as well as epigenetically changing our chemical
Right.
response.
Right. And, I don't have the scientific proof, but people actually say, it's like as you age, for example, right? Most people think, well, I'm just going to age like my mom or dad. Right?
Yeah.
People have actually say stop the hereditary pattern so they don't have to say necessarily age the way they normally do in their family structure.
Right.
They don't have to have relationships the way they normally do in their family structure, or money issues, or anything like that. Yeah. So, we talk about the physicalness, like you were talking about DNA and so on, like that DNA coding. Yes. So. I literally help you say change your DNA structure, and once you change that programming, then the physical issues disappear. But just like the way you get your hair color, your skin color, your ethnicity, or whatever, somewhere in you is coded on how you look at life, on how, say, abusive you get, or how joyful you feel. All those programs are inside you. I call that your frequency signature. If you can change your frequency signature, the DNA structure changes, the physicalness of this of you change, and then that's where you recover from diabetes and anything physical, but then also mental as well, emotional type issues that people have.
See, it's for the one percenters out there like me. It's we have to hold a vision, and when we get back from break, Moss. Let's
Mhm.
talk about how
Sure.
one percenters can start opening up with your
Mhm.
help or without your help
Of course.
to
Yes, definitely.
to holding the vision that they are 99%, and which is basically
Right.
all energy,
Right.
and how energy is this exponential intelligence is
Yes.
here to assist us in our own awakening and healing. All right.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Well,
Perfect.
great. We'll be right back with Moss and Sajady, and he is talking about transforming lives on a remote level as well as on an individual level. This is phenomenal information. All right, we are back with Moss Sajady, and we are talking about healing instantaneously here. All right, through our 99% of who are we really are is energy. And before we go into some of these things I mentioned on before the break, Moss.
Mhm.
Emotional recall is a new integrative therapy process where people are like saying, just like you're saying, is
Mhm.
you address the DNA, you address your past history issues from your family
Right.
lineage, you could then
Right.
transform them within yourself. And it's just
Right.
so hard for the average human out there, and I'll speak on our
Mhm.
behalf, our 1% mindset here. It's
Sure.
just so hard for us to hold that vision of that we're all energy because we're so lost in this matrix of us being a three-dimensional physical being.
Right. Exactly.
Intellectually, quantum physics, even now spirituality, source is making more sense, and you could hold the vision that we are a
Mhm.
majority energy. Because I mean, even science explains that on a cellular level and molecular level.
Right.
So
Sure.
to transform that to feel differently, I mean, one measurable way is this: if you're
Mhm.
not walking, and all of a sudden you're walking. Okay,
Right.
that's pretty measurable. If you
That's pretty
have
measurable.
diabetes and you don't have diabetes anymore, that's measurable, right?
Right.
We had one guy on said through scale energy through technology he has, which I don't know why technology is so important because you don't need technology. You just do it through spirit and
Yeah,
you know
and
whatever
awareness.
awareness. You know, we have integrative doctors like Dr. Lee Cowden, who I believe are doing stuff what you're doing because they're aware of this. You know, they're tapped into
Right.
source, and he gives all his credit to Jesus and God, right?
Sure.
But my point is, they're tapped into source, and they're healing people, or at least identifying the codes, issues where they are. They could go, hey, they could touch
Right.
you and say, you know, you got an issue with your back problem, whatever it may be.
Right.
So, so how do you convince someone that they can do that themselves?
Well, I don't really need to convince anybody. I
Love
just
that.
know that it works. I've had, I was the biggest critic of my abilities, you know, because I'm a computer programmer. The bottom line, you know, if there's a line of code that didn't work, the program doesn't work. But you know, you start to see people actually transform. They come back and go, wow, you know, my life really shifted. So you convince yourself. Those individuals who you know want the technical information on that before they move forward, you know, just give it a try. You know, see for yourself. I kind of forgot my thought.
See for yourself
Again.
for healing, like what you were saying about the
Right.
the medi healings is if they try doing these meditations, say with
Right.
you initially, they could then believe it more. Whereas if they did it on their
Right.
own, they may not believe it as more, and there may not be as effective.
Well, they can do it on their own, and we can talk about, you know, how you can do it on your own. But I can do it just say much faster for you because I can pull you into say whatever is needed, whatever
Right.
reality is needed,
Right.
right, to help you heal. So whatever I can do, you can do. But again, I do it just much
Right.
faster. So just to give you an example, Tim, say for example that you know you've got you know relationship issues, whatever it might be,
Oh
right?
my God,
Relationship issues.
you're psychic too?
That's funny.
Well, I can. Let's just say I'm pretty intuitive. I can read you. I can read almost anybody better
Right.
than them.
Yeah, apparently
And they go,
so.
you know, it's like relationship issues, and you know, I need a new person, but you know, I tap into them and it's like, oh, you know, at say 14 or 15, there was a lot of issues in the family dynamics. You know, there might have been, say, divorce, there might have been whatever, and that's, say, tainted your perception on how a relationship works. It's tainted you so much, I call it a timestamp, that moment of time has been stamped into your identity. And then from that moment on, you always see, say, relationships. And by the way, this could be you.
Yeah.
Tim, that relationship, the rest of any type of a relationship, including intimate type relationships, from that perspective. So you're always
Right.
going to see, you're always going to say, create that reality as true for you.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Oh, listen.
So if I
Go
remove
ahead.
that perspective, though,
Yeah.
then your relationships, like, say, change.
Okay. Now, this is brilliant because my parents did get divorced around that time, you know, and I would,
Yeah,
and so
I was reading.
what you
So
just
sorry about that.
what you just did was you brought consciousness to me of that
Right.
issue. So I focus wherever I suppressed or repressed it in my body.
Right.
You're finding, and it's in my body, I assume, or in my electrical field, but you're
It's your electrical.
okay, electric field. So you're going in, you're seeing wherever it is, and you're decoding that because of now
Yes.
I'm decoding it too because I'm conscious of it.
Right. I bring it to your consciousness, and then you see it from that 99%, and then it's like, oh, it's not true.
Yes,
And
not
then
true.
as
Yeah.
soon as you say it's not true,
Boy.
boom, it
Well,
disappears. And for you, since you get it, Tim, your relationships, for example, and sorry, I just read you, but it just
no.
happened.
No, trust me. Go on, man. Because listen,
Yeah.
Wahid, if I get married in the next week, I'm holding him accountable for it. All right.
But
Mosh, you're gonna be in trouble.
Just invite him to the wedding.
You invite him to the wedding. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You'll be my
exactly.
best man.
But you'll see, like for you, you'll almost say instantaneously or within the next few days, see your relationships with women, especially women, change
Well,
for you
wow.
without anything else. You know,
Wow.
without putting a different set of clothes on, without, you know, all that stuff that people do to enhance their chances.
Wow.
You'll see that women will just react to you differently because of that.
Wow. I bought this really nice shirt too. So I don't need that. You're telling me?
Nope.
So
You need a shower though.
It's just funny. funny.
Well, he does know me. All right. So this is wonderful. So back to the aspect of it. So in this electrical field, we have all these codes and symbols and things like that. You're able to see. Is it a audio? Is it a feeling? Is it a knowing? How are you identifying it? Do you see it in your mind's eye? These different codes and issues that people need to resolve.
Right. Great question. No, so I'm not clairvoyant, clairaudio, and all those other things. I'm
All right.
not any sensory being, so it's more of a knowing. So,
A knowing,
and
yeah,
again, that goes through exponential intelligence. It's a timeless knowledge that's just there, and it's a lot potent, a lot more potent, and more accurate than say being clairvoyant, clairaudio, because those individuals who have fantastic abilities like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But say they have a bad day, right? They
Yeah.
channel that knowledge into their emotions, through their emotions. They have a bad day, and then they get a distorted reading because they're having a bad day, right?
Right.
So mine goes beyond, say, the emotional limits of our physical, say, knowledge. It's just a knowing. It's just there without emotion or any attachment, which actually further enhances, say, your ability to heal because then you're not emotionally attached to anything.
Right. No, yeah, listen, I get that. And see, that's what I find so fascinating, is your emotional attachment to
Right.
things and to people, places, and things, right? And our awakening to that we don't need this outside. Number one, it's our creation, to my understanding. We created it,
Yes. Right.
and so if we co-created or created this,
Mhm.
and I mean everything. And
Right.
here we are seeing it as a separation of us. We see it as
Yeah.
separate of us. So my
Right.
question to you, and I had a guy on, Michael Monk, he talks about this all the time, and I talk to different people, and they say, well, they go through this detachment. You're detaching these entities, you're detaching these codes, you're reprogramming all this. But if we
Right.
create it all in the first place, is it more of a detachment, or is it more of an embracement? We want to embrace our creation and unfold it within ourselves and bring it home.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's a misconception that people have that we created or we designed the life that we have.
All right.
If we were that aware, we would never design the life that we have.
No,
I mean,
amen to
just think
that.
of it, right?
Yeah.
We'd never go, hey, I want cancer this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's bigger and better things beyond that, like human form that
Sure.
we want, that we can and want to experience.
Right.
So most of that is a rendition of, say, what happened in your family space. Right? So, say cancer runs in your family, for example, and most of us aren't awakened enough as we come into physical form, and basically we go, well, I'll have what mom's having. She had cancer. Serious. That's the way it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Most of our
yeah.
DNA coding, 90% of how we run our lives, is from your family lineage or previous lifetimes.
Now,
Mhm.
let's go in there. Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about that, actually epigenetically hereditary, that it's only 5% of what we ever bring onto them. However, we're
Mhm.
talking about the physical 5%. We're not talking about the energetic 5% here. You're talking about the
Right.
energetic because he
Exactly.
says the majority of what we create, if your mom had cancer and you had cancer, it's more so because the emotional process of how you believe and think like your parents do, or the previous generation, because it has never been addressed on an energetic level.
Mhm.
So he would be correct and you would be correct at the same time.
Right. I'm just going a layer deeper than him because why are you thinking and acting like your parents?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Where
yeah,
does that
yeah.
programming come
Come
from?
from, yeah.
Is my point. So you release that programming, right?
Yeah.
And then you actually will think differently. This is where people go, well, just think happy thoughts and then your life will change. But why do you have to force yourself to think happy thoughts? What about those people who are always lucky and just naturally happy? What if I could program you like that?
Mm.
Right? And then naturally happy thoughts are out there. You don't have to say psych yourself up for 2, 3 hours a day to have a great day. You just naturally are running that. This is really important for those people who say have addictive patterns, right? Because most of the time people do physical things, right? It's just sheer willpower that they move away from addiction, but the underlying program is still there, and that's why Alcoholics Anonymous, for example, fantastic is helped millions around the world, but they do it through sheer willpower, and that's why if they go back to a bar or if they sniff a drink or they take a drink and it all falls apart for a
Right.
lot of
Sure.
them,
Sure.
right?
It's like a
So
Band-Aid.
what
Yeah.
if you just remove that underlying program?
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
and it's very different.
Isn't all addictions one addiction? I mean, isn't that really, I mean, like, until you remove that program, Moss? I mean, you may stop drinking, but all of a sudden now you have an issue
There's
with
another
the
level.
technology.
Sure.
You stop the technology, now you have an addiction with food. You know, you stop the food, now you have addiction with sex, or whatever. So, so I mean, isn't all addictions one addiction? And the addiction process, isn't it a spiritual solution to the addiction process, or energetic solution?
Well, there's different levels of why people are addicted, although you're accurate on all addictions are one of addiction. It's either one or something else. So there's lots of reasons why people are addicted. One reason is that, say, your family has been controlled, right? There's a controlled source over you, or, you know, some people say there's a curse over my family. I'm just reading your audience, by the way. It's a good.
Yeah, they're very open-minded audience, aren't you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, you Wiccans.
So there's a curse in my family, and then so that control source, as I call it, or that you might call it a curse, that would keep you in an addictive pattern, because when you're weaker, it's easier to control you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you remove that control pattern, and then that addiction needs are not needed anymore. There's other forms of addiction. Say you get abused, and then you equate love with being abused, because that's the way you've got attention.
Right. Yeah.
So you're addicted to abuse, for example, in this case.
Right.
So there's lots of reasons why people get addicted.
So and you're able to go in and assist with those addictions by focusing on the codes in the energetic field.
Exactly.
Which is not only outside of us, but also within us.
Right.
And you're able to, through intent, change it, deprogram it?
I would call it, and it's an intention, not from the conscious mind. It's more of a state of being, basically.
It seems more pure, you're saying. You come from a more pure intent?
Yes, exactly. So you've heard of Roger Bannister, right?
Yeah.
He's the first guy that did the 4-minute mile. So when he did the 4-minute mile, it was world news, right? The first human that did the 4-minute mile. But then 3 months later, there was more people, and then 6 months later, there's more people. And nowadays, if you're not running 4 minutes, you're just not a runner. You know, you're not serious. So for me, is like I've opened that space. It's like, hey guys, this is what we are. This is what we have potential of. Right. So how I say help you and transform you is like I get to show you what we're actually supposed to be like. And then they go, oh, I can actually reach that myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that's how they shift.
Sure. Well, let's take another break. And when we get back, Moss, let's discuss a little bit about you and having this, I don't know, skill set, having this awakening, having this, a near-death experience that perhaps allowed you to see the world in a different way of knowing, right? How has this transformed you on a personal level, and what's your next steps here in life? And let's go there. We're right back with Moss Sajady, and he is a healing transformer. He has a program called Medihealing. You should check it out. Go to masssajady.com. Also check out his podcast, which is brilliant. It's called Exponential Intelligence. We'll be right back. All right, we are with a world healer. He's healing people, assisting in healing people, healing themselves. I mean, Moss, what you're doing is on a level of, people choose not to believe it, that's so be it. But, until they have an experience with you, I mean, there probably won't be believers, or maybe, I mean, I'm very open-minded. It doesn't matter, right? So, what does this do to you? Because it brings back this old Star Trek episode I saw. It was called Where No Man Has Gone Before. And this guy has this alien interaction, and all of a sudden he has these superhuman powers, right? And people start getting a little nervous about him, nervous around him. And he's like, is he going to go for evil? Is he going to go for good? And, and it's just like the human can't handle this type of power, right? Although, I consider people like you, and a whole bunch of others more like the Marines here, the new spiritual Marines. You're hitting the ground first. You're creating an environment. You're doing the groundwork. So it may be painful, but you're doing the groundwork so other humans now could come in and live in that 99%. And creating the heaven on earth, Right. So what has this done to your ego, if it has done anything to your ego?
Not much. I've got like 6 kids, so they keep me pretty balanced.
Enough said. I get it. All right, enough said.
No, but I want to answer the question for the non-believers.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, they
okay.
didn't believe in Jesus in the first,
Yeah,
when he first came out. They didn't believe in the airplane.
yeah.
They didn't believe in technology. But now, you know, it's everywhere, and they believe it. So it's just a matter of time. But for the ego, you know, I've gotten to a point where you transcend, say, the ego states, where you transcend, say, the material side of this reality. And again, ego is a material side. You get to a point where like good and bad does not exist anymore. You use both sides to say help ascend higher or master the world, just like again Jesus, again outside of the religion, not the distorted view.
Right.
He mastered those levels. So we're on that same say track or same process.
Well,
Right?
he said that the lesser of him will be doing much more than him, right? So I mean, he told
Exactly.
people that they'll be healed. You'll be the healers of the future. It's the own power of,
Exactly.
you know. So
Yes.
to me, I get that, and I love the fact you're doing that. So you must feel. Are you enjoying life more?
Oh, definitely. I live from the 99%. So the details of what we think mundane are, say, beauty to me. Just like a little kid who sees, you know, something for the first time. I live in that state pretty much all the time. I never really get bored. I can just
Yeah,
sit somewhere for
yeah.
hours and just like enjoy just being in this space.
Deep.
And the nice thing about that is that the things that I need, the people, as you know, my business is like expands almost. I would say it doubles in size like every say 8 9 months,
Wow.
which is really fast because that's
Yeah.
how. And we don't do a lot of marketing; it's all organic. But
Sure.
that's how say impactful it is on people's lives. They go and tell 10 or more or whatever people, which is nice. So those things automatically happen. So you can actually say focus on just being here. You know, the rent gets paid or whatever and more, right? You get blessed, let's say, with all those things that we spend most of our lives, right,
Yeah.
trying to accomplish so we can get connected.
Right.
If you do it the other way, like I have, and like I show people, it just happens so you can actually just enjoy life, enjoy your kids, enjoy whatever.
Yeah, it's amazing. I call it leveling up, and when you kind of
Yeah,
raise that, or you track the frequency of other
right.
people in your environment, where you don't have to work harder, you just don't even have to work smarter. You just have to be in the present moment. And I hear so many stories from people such as yourself, Moss, who truly get that the joy is coming from within, and
It
that,
comes
and
from
to
within.
the point where I mean, you ever find yourself where maybe you bring tears to your eyes of how happy you are, how joyful you are? I mean,
Oh
that
my
you
God,
just
actually just a couple of days ago, you know, I wake up and I'm going, oh wow, this is such a cool life. You know, because I get to travel the world.
yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
get to help people like
yeah,
every day.
yeah.
You know, we get tons of testimonials like you changed my life, you know, you saved my husband, whatever. You know, so it's like, wow, what a great feeling. And you know, I'm very abundant at it as well. So I get to enjoy the niceties of life at the same time. Why
Absolutely.
not?
Why not? And you know, my biggest focus too is, you know, I wish I'd spent more time with my kids with my new belief systems, because if anything, you know, your apples of your eye are your children, right? And but they have their own souls and their own journey. Do you
Right.
find that the challenges in that with 6 kids that they may not understand your philosophy, or you incorporate that at a young age with them? Or I mean, not that you need to share that
Uh,
right now with details, but I was just curious if.
no.
Okay.
No, they're actually, and it's not my philosophy. It's just the philosophy of being.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and everybody has that philosophy. So when you go down to the basics, basically that's what it is. All my kids are very, well, anybody who sees them, it's like, wow, such grand kids, you know, at a very young age. The oldest is 21.
Right.
And even the youngest, the two youngest ones at 7, you look at them, it's like, whoa, those are really highly intelligent beings. So they see way beyond the physicalness of this world.
So you notice, because I notice to a certain degree, once I transform my belief on something, I see the change in my children.
Yes, especially for my kids, and that's what happens to people who I work on. You know, as they shift, the kids who are younger, right, young enough, they just automatically shift, which is quite amazing, don't you think? It's like, Moss, work on my kids. Work on. It's like, okay, let's work on you, and you'll see all that junk that you have. Your kids go, oh, I don't need that anymore either. You know,
It is.
so
It's that energy behind that anxiety, the change that you want your kids,
yes,
that, you know, that is perpetuating the distance, them not getting it.
exactly.
And once we transform, I learned that from Mindy Stitch, by the way. She's really been phenomenal for me to kind of, you know, get my thoughts behind all that. So thanks, Mindy. But you know, it is amazing once you transform
Mhm.
that within yourself, you see the change outside of yourself. Like everything's a mirror. Really, right?
It is. It is. It is. It's quite amazing how fast you can change once you start to realize that. Because if you think everything is a mirror, you keep looking at the mirror. It's like, gosh, I got to fix this. But you don't even have to fix it. You just notice it the next time you come back, look at it. It's like it's changed.
Like, man, I'm looking younger every day.
People actually do that.
Yeah.
People actually do look younger and
Right.
younger through this process as well, because you start going back to your original state of just being and being youthful.
Yeah. So a minute or less, Mas. What's next for you? I mean, honestly, you're living your joy. You're, like you said, you're traveling.
Right.
You're enjoying the. So to me, what's so important right now is people such as you to be successful in the eyes of society, of the world, because you didn't have to sign a contract with the devil or whatever people want to say.
No,
You awoken to your own power within,
Right.
through whatever means, and now you're sharing this, and that's the models we want. These are the mentors we
Right.
want. So what's
Right.
next? What's next for you?
Well, that's the key for so the next step for me is again, is showing a whole new paradigm that you don't have to sell yourself to be abundant. You are naturally abundant. That's one of the keys. So that's the message that I'm sharing for people. Next steps is more travel, I guess, which is always fun. I've got a book coming out. Instagram is really huge for me. There's more and more people. I do like minute type quotes that really help people.
Can you share the name of the book?
I'm sorry,
Yet.
say that?
Can you share the name of the book yet?
We don't have the title yet.
I guess you can.
It's that new, Tim.
I love it.
But we're getting more and more influential people. So more like CEO level type, those changers, those movers and changers, because it's a lot easier to say change a corporate structure, right? The identity of a corporate structure.
Yeah.
Because if the top guy changes, then everybody below them changes. So we're getting more and more individuals like that, more business related, more influential type individuals involved.
Real quick here, what is your Instagram URL message? Or
Sajady, at Sajady.
Okay, and that's Sajady, right?
Yes.
MASSAJADY. Well, I have to say, you are just a phenomenal man doing phenomenal work, and I just want to say thank God you're here and transforming the world.
Thank you so much.
And
Me and all the rest of us.
Yeah, right. Listen, I want to thank you. If you have a second, hang on a second. I want to ask you a question off air. Okay. So, guys, hope you enjoyed the show. Again, you want to reach him, you go to MASSAJADY.com, and he's transforming the world. Check it out. Check out his Medihealing. You can just remotely from home start changing your world. Well, thanks again. All right, guys, that's the show. We'll see you later on. Again, download our UI app. You can listen to these shows 24 hours, 7 days a week. Take care.